Amen. Please be seated. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, we will now hear a 10-minute presentation from the ndrmc OCD USEC Ricardo Halat for his inter-regional report to the body and to the President.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, as well as to our cabinet secretaries and other officials. I will provide an update regarding the effects and our actions in connection with Typhoon Ulysses. For the monitored effects, as of today, we have 69 dead from 6 regions in Luzon. Only Region 1 did not have any casualty, with the highest in Region 2, followed by Calabarzon, and then the Cordilleras. Affected population number about 285,000 or almost 286,000 families, or 1.1 million individuals. Typhoon Ulysses also damaged more than 3,000 houses. On the damage to agriculture, the initial estimate is almost 1 billion, while for the infrastructure is 253 million. Shown are some of its effects: the storm surge in Polillo, Quezon, as well as a flash flood in Barangay Hinipaan, Bagamanok, Catanduanes. Unfortunately, we did not have any casualty in this incident. The flood affecting parts of Rizal and Marikina City and Pasig. And a ship that rammed the shoreline of Navotas. Flooding also in Pasig. Shown is a drone footage of the flooding in Cagayan. And for our actions taken, we conducted, prior to the onslaught of Typhoon Ulysses, or days before it made landfall, we conducted a series of meetings. We issued preemptive evacuation instructions through the DILG. We issued typhoon warnings, advisories, and directives, and we activated physical and virtual emergency operation center in the main operation center of the ndrmc in Quezon City, as well as in the various regional disaster risk reduction and management council operation center. We issued a total of 76 emergency alert and warning messages through the telcos. And we also emphasized the cascading of information down to the community through other means, such as utilizing the communication system of the uniformed services, the PNP, AFP, as well as to cascade information house to house or bandillo. Of course, we also conducted aerial rapid assessment over Metro Manila, and there was also conducted the same assessment here in Region 2. We mobilized almost 4,000 search and rescue personnel, utilizing these assets, 62 land assets, 30 water assets, and 9 air assets. And our efforts saved or rescued 83,667 individuals. And shown is the number of individuals provided with relief assistance as well as medical services. 44,000 provided with relief services and 28,000 with medical services. Here are some pictures of our search, rescue, and retrieval and relief operations. Now, may I call on Director Harold Cabreros, Mr. President, to give a short presentation also centered on the effects and our responses in Region 2.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon to our secretaries and to other members of the different agencies. I'm Director Harold Cabreros, the Acting Regional Director of OCD Region 2 and the Chairperson of the Cagayan Valley Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council. And I just want to present to you our situation update in Region 2. And my presentation will follow the sequence. Next. So for the chronology of events, may I just want to emphasize that the weather situation in Region 2 for the period October to November, we experienced 7 weather disturbances from the start of Typhoon, Tropical Depression Ophel up to Typhoon Ulysses. And during this time, particularly during the Typhoon Quinta, we already experienced some floodings in the western Cagayan at the downstream, particularly in Santa Fraxedes, Claveria, Sanchez Mira, and Pamplona. Next. So with this situation with 7 weather disturbances, may I show you a brief drone shot of what happened, particularly here in Tuguegarao. So we could see a massive flooding in Cagayan Valley. Okay, next. So with this massive flooding, this is the effects of Typhoon Ulysses. So there were around almost 100,000 affected population, affected families with 343,000 persons, and there were roads and bridges that were considered not passable. We experienced power interruptions, and also we accounted damages of infrastructure and agriculture, where initially the damages for agriculture is 73.7 million, while for infrastructure is 39.8 million. Now I would like to also emphasize on the casualties that we suffered. 24 deaths, wherein 14 was due to landslide, 7 through drowning, and 3 on electrocution. Next. So, on the landslide, here is the area where the landslide occurred, which is in Barangay Ronrono, Quezon Nueva, Vizcaya, where we recorded 10 deaths, which are in a mining area, which is, they were conducting small mining operations. And also in Baggao, next, the 4 deaths in Baggao, Cagayan is along the riverbanks. The house is along the riverbanks. So there was a soil erosion that caused the landslide and the death of 4 persons. Next. So for our response actions, immediately after the onslaught of Typhoon Ulysses, we have deployed 4,799 personnel for search, rescue, and retrieval operations. I just want to emphasize here that the LGUs have their own search and rescue teams that conducted immediate forced evacuation and rescue operations. Next. For relief operations, aside from the relief operations conducted by the LGUs, our national government through the DSWD have already distributed family food packs, and some are for distribution. And for this time, we have an ongoing relief operations. Next. And our DOH have been conducting health assistance, providing hygiene kits, medicines, and so on. Next. And for our DPWH, together with the local government that has capability for road clearing, have been conducting road clearing to the different areas, region-wide. Next. So for our plan of actions, at this point in time, we continue to conduct response operations. As we have conducted an area recon, there are communities that were isolated and cannot be reached by land. So we will be conducting area resupply or relief operation to these communities. We continue to conduct road clearing in some areas. Next. We are ready to deploy our rapid damage assessment and needs analysis teams. And finally, sir, we will implement our early recovery programs as from the different departments of the government. For Department of Agriculture, Department of Trade and Industry, Department of Labor and Employment, Department of Social Welfare and Development, National Housing Authority, and Office of Civil Defense. And also we are getting the programs of other agencies. So that's all for the situation here in Region 2, your...
Thank you very much, Harold Cabreros, Regional Director of OCD, for the situation update in Typhoon Ulysses in Region 2. Before we proceed to the President's guidance, may we request remarks and a message from the Governor of Province of Cagayan, Governor Manuel Mamba.
Namamahal naming Presidente, Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte, Honorable Senator Bongo, the members, honorable members of the Cabinet, the regional directors, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon po sa ating lahat. Ito na po yung 5th time, Mr. President, na napunta kayo dito sa amin. The first time was during Typhoon Lawin. The second time was during Super Typhoon Ompong again. And twice you went to CESA para sirain po yung mga kontrabandong mga sasakyan doon. At ngayon po yung panglima na punta niyo dito. Kami po yung nagpapasalamat sa pagmamahal, sa pagmamalasakit, at sa ginagawa niyong sakripisyo para makita ang problema namin sa aming probinsya ng Cagayan at ang region namin, Region 2. We appreciate so much, Mr. President, your concern to our people. We appreciate so much your love for our people. And in response, Mr. President, we will do our best to help our people. From day one, Mr. President, Senator Bongo has always been contacting me. Secretary Bebot Bello has always been there with us, and the OCD people has always been there with us. The national government did its part and its best. Nung hindi po namin maihatid ang mga relief goods po namin, kagad-agad po nagpadala lahat ang Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Philippine National Police, and all agencies involved. And up to now, we do relief and rescue operations, even at this point in time. Despite the fact na napakahirap pong puntahan ang mga lahat ng dapat mapuntahan, because as you all know, Mr. President, this is the worst flooding that we had in the last 45 years. Masabi po ng mga Tuguegarao sa akin, the last time they had this kind of flooding was 1975. And this is the first time that we had this kind of flooding. We expected this, pero grabe po itong nangyari sa amin. And I also would like to thank you, Mr. President, for, again, initiating the restoration of our Cagayan River through the initiative of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. Secretary Sima II started this months back, Mr. President, and I hope that we will continue doing this so because we feel na ito po siguro yung talagang solusyon ng aming mga problema dito. I have been congressman for 12 years dito. I've been also 5 years as governor now and 7 years as mayor prior to that. Ngayon lang po kami nagkakaroon ng pag-asa na magkaroon ng solusyon ang napakalaking problema ng aming rehiyon, lalo na aming probinsya. Ang probinsya po namin ang labasan at labusan po ng lahat ng tubig ng Region 2 to include Kalinga, Apayao, and Ifugao. Lahat po ng tubig niyan papunta po dito sa amin. Kaya nga po nakikita naman that this is worsening every year. And we have to do something about this. And we feel that your administration started it all by the restoration of the Cagayan River. And I hope that this will go on in the immediate future because we feel na ito po yung solution nito. And of course, the regreening of our denuded forests of both the Sierra Madre Ranges, ganun din po itong Cordillera Mountain Ranges. So again, Mr. President, thank you so much for coming over. Every time we have big problems like this, you have always been with us. And we will forever be indebted to you. And we will forever be grateful to you and your administration. Maraming salamat na naman po sa pagpunta niyo dito sa amin.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Governor Mamba. Now, we will listen to the guidance of the President.
This was handed to me, a prepared speech. Pero hindi ko na lang basahin. If there's time, I'll read it. But anyway, it's all about sympathies and sharing the grief of the people over here. Ang problema ko talaga ngayon is that whether we accept it or not, itong climate change, the warm climate boils the Pacific Ocean. There's a lot of water vapor going upstairs and accumulating so much water rain that when it falls down, talagang ang matamaan ngayon yung mga populated areas nakukumpermiso. We had a virtual summit meeting Friday, and I was very strong in my language about the people who contributed a lot to the global warming. And anong pinakita nila sa atin na tayo, Philippines, we only have a few factories running here. We do not have that kind of, we spud a little, but not that much. And pag yung bumagsak na, talagang babagsak. It does not only rain of cats and dogs. It is really water pure over here. And of course, nandito na lang sabihin ko, para marinig na rin ng iba. I'll just read it because it talks about our state of affairs now. My solidarity and condolence go out to my fellow Filipinos in Cagayan Valley, most especially to the bereaved families of the victims of the unprecedented flooding that occurred in the area in the aftermath of Typhoon Ulysses. This strong typhoon has affected more than 97 families in Region 2. We are saddened to know that 24 persons perished here, while a few others are still missing. Damage to agriculture in Region 2 was around 186 million pesos, while damage to infrastructure was over 1.6 billion. I want to personally assure our fellow here that the government will continue its rescue operations until all families are safe, all casualties and missing persons have been accounted for, and all affected individuals and communities have received their needed relief and other assistance. As of today, more than ₱1 million worth of assistance was provided to Region 2 by the DSWD, LGUs, and non-government organizations. We also work to prevent the repetition of disaster by intensifying forest protection efforts against illegal logging and mining. I expect our LGUs to do their part in this endeavor. You know, I'll cut short. Itong ulan na ganito o bagyo, either with winds or just water pouring from the heavens. We always talk about illegal logging and mining, but actually nothing has been done about it. Mabutit na lang, I did not expect that I'm having a cabinet meeting here because most of my cabinet members are here. By the way, karamihan ng cabinet member ko, governor, puro Ilocano. Dalawa lang kaming Bisaya ang pinakagwapo si General Simato. And of course, ang glamour boy namin si Belio. We were together during our law school days. Silang dalawa ni Dulay, ni BIR now, from Baguio. And I was in a room with Yasay, who was a fake Filipino. God bless his soul. He died about a month ago, 2 months ago. Bimbitawan ko talaga siya because he was rejected by the Commission on Appointments. I also urge the LGUs to actively collaborate with the task force created to lead the rehabilitation efforts because your lives, including your good health, safety, and improved welfare, are the government's highest priority. On this note, I wish to express my gratitude to the LGUs, one, and the Philippine National Police, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the Philippine Coast Guard, and all the private organizations for their relentless effort to assist the victims of Typhoon Ulysses. To my countrymen here in Cagayan Valley, rest assured that we are working hard to rebuild your lives after these calamities. We know your anguish, and we will respond with urgency. With the pioneer spirit of the Filipino, I am confident that together we will brave all the challenges ahead and emerge stronger as a nation. God bless the Philippines. Ang una actually is food. Yan ang pag-aralan ko sa local official. 22 years akong mayor, so dinaanan ko lahat ng sir, lahat ng sunog, and even my daughter, when she was mayor, galing siya sa paha na maraming namatay at nag-demolish yung sirip, talagang binugbog kasi dahil hindi nga naman tama eh. It was extremely in bad taste. Ang Davao kasi malawak. On the other side, on the south side, you had flood. Yung ulan doon lang, in the downtown area, there was none at all. Pagdating sa north side, yun yung baha, mag-ulan. So ganon kalaki ang Davao City, reputedly the biggest city in the world, and I would agree. Hindi mo na kalaki na umulan dito, may baha doon. It does not cover the entire place. Now, ang guidance talaga, I got this from President Ramos. It's not my novel idea. That after a catastrophe, whatever, fire, flood, the objective should be to return to normalcy as soon as possible. Whether it is an explosion, ganon na, ito si military thinking. And I adopted that word, Soviet niya, nung mayor ako. So, ang atin na yung gawin, just the same. We will do everything to return to normalcy. In the meantime, ang problema talaga sa sunog is water. Clean water, potable water. Kung wala, then we will send them here, even if we have to travel overnight. Then food, importante talaga to sustain them. And so Agriculture Secretary Dario is here, so he can give you at least a purview of what the department will do. You have money to do it. Then sa DPWH, Secretary Villar is here. He can do miracles, actually. Secretary Villar, mind you, he said a very honest person. Wala akong kaduda-duda. Problem is, yung departamento na nakuha niya, maraming kawatan ang putang ina. So, most of the time, headline. While labor, I do not think that magmumero dito, it's not really that much. Bebot is here. He has money. I have signed so many documents of late. Billion yun. It's always billion. I never saw such papers kay galing kay billion ang hingi ng thousands. It's always billion. And I think he is running for senator. Pagbigyan na lang ninyo. Gusto ng tao. Then, would you believe it, most of my cabinet members are really military men. And most of them are Ilocanos. At one time or another, they were assigned in Mindanao, in my city. And I got to know them, friends. The General Simato is from Ilocos Norte. He was the one I sent to Boracay to clean the beach. But on the first day he was inspecting, his picture was there sa bulletin. And malapit yung camera, you could see the eyeballs of General Simato. Nakatingin doon sa dalawang Caucasian na yung isa parang nakatapat, tinanggal yung bra. So you can see the focus of General Simato in his work. Well, anyway, Boracay is already, it's good. You can go there, it's clean. Let us say, as I have said, it props up every now and then. I will direct here, General Simato, to look into the illegal mining, especially where the people are building their shelters downwards. Kaya pag gano'n ng di mabaon talaga sila kasi nandaan sila. So, if it is not really possible, or the possibility is not there for them to stop, at least Jose Mato should devise a way where they can place their mga bahay nila well above the rolling stones if they come. Pagitingin nga rin yung sabi ni Governor. Sunod si Secretary Anyo, si General also, DILG. So if you need anything, tawagan mo lang. Then si Secretary ko si sa Energy. Na-restore na ba ang kanilang
Only 10% first of the barangay, sir. The part means Tuguegarao City. Meron na po yung part with Tuguegarao City. The Cagayan province is serviced by two cooperatives. Cagayan Kuan, composed of around 385 barangays, 27 barangays are already energized, and Tuguegarao City is partly. And Cagayan Kutu, awaiting activation by NGCP transmission. They are ready to receive power, but only considering the safety of the people because of the flood, Mr. President.
How long do you think they can fix everything?
As soon as the water subsides and we finish the what you call this, the inspection, maybe in 2 days, Mr. President.
I hope it will not take, mahirap walang elektrisidad.
I agree with you, sir. We are doing our best to immediately energize.
Si next to you is Lambino. By the way, sir, pardon me for asking you in public.
Yes, sir.
Are you the one who's sick?
Sick, sir? No, sir.
May nabalita kasi ako na may sakit. Buti sana wala.
Hindi po, sir. Hindi naman po ako nagkasakit, Mr.
You're
President.
doing a great job there, so
Opo,
continue.
sir. Sir, kanina po, dala ko po yung water purifier na galing po sa Office of the Civil Defense. Nagbiyahe po ako ng eroplano from Binalonan, Pangasinan. Dinala ko po yun. Pinahiram po tayo ni Congressman Ramon Kiko III ng Pangasinan ng kanyang eroplano para madala po yung water purifiers dito po sa Cagayan. Kasama ko po sana si Undersecretary Rick Halad kanina, pero sa Maynila na lang po siya ang galing. Sa SESA naman po, alam po ni Governor Mambayan at saka si Mayor Jeff Soriano ng Tuguegarao na lahat po ng mga nangyaring kalamidad po dito, andyan po kaagad po yung Cagayan Economic Zone Authority na umaantabay at nagbibigay po ng mga relief items para po sa kanila. Kaya nung pong isang araw pa po, kasagsagan po ng bagyo rito, nagbigay na po ako ng instruction sa aking mga staff. Nakapaghanda po kami ng worth 200,000 goods, immediate goods, mga water at saka food packs na ito-turn over po namin po yan sa Office of the Provincial Governor at saka sa Office of the City Mayor of Tuguegarao. Kung kukulangin pa po yun ay pinaghahanap ko po yung aking mga staff para po mas marami po kayo may bibigyan na tulong po sa ating mga kababayan dito po sa probinsya ng Cagayan, Mr. President.
Right, that's good. That's the spirit of an Ilocano,
Opo. Opo, sir.
always in the service of your people. Let me revisit back Secretary Bellew. Ba't ang Isabela? Sabi may wala kasing malandingan doon.
Mr. President, malaki rin ang pinsala ng Typhoon Ulysses. Gusto sana ni Governor Albano pumunta dito, pero may pinadala si Mayor Sara ng mga relief goods, kaya yun ang inaasikaso niya po, Mr. President.
what do you need? Just the same, just like the situation is just like Cagayan.
Hindi gaano, Mr. President. Mas malala ang Cagayan because out of 27 towns of Cagayan, Mr. President, 24 ang lumubog eh. Samantala ang Isabela, ang tinamaan lang, Mr. President, yung northern towns, yung Cabagan, San Pablo, Santa Maria, Santo Tomas, Tumawili, and Ilagan, my hometown, Mr. President. Yung southern, hindi na masyado, Mr. President.
Not as much damage as in other places.
Yes, Mr. President, mas malaki talaga sa Cagayan, Mr. President. Kaya mas malaki
But
allocate.
they have that man to manage the situation there. Okay ba? Is somebody manning the fort?
Yung binigay niyo sa akin, Mr. President, tamang-tama lang ibibigay natin kay Governor Mamba, Governor Albano, Governor Cuba, and also Governor Padilla. Pero konti lang ang problema ng Quirino, Mr. President. Malit lang pinsala doon. Ang matindi talaga Cagayan and Isabela. So, yung pondo namin na binigay niyo, Mr. President, ay nakapokus dito sa dalawang probinsya, Mr. President.
Buhos mo. Ubusin mo.
Opo, Mr. President. Basta dagdagan niyo.
Hanap tayo. Utang tayo. Utang naman how about the end of the line si Chief MP?
Good afternoon po, Mr. President. The PNP po, we augmented our forces here and we coordinate closely with our counterparts sa local government at saka yung sa AP, Coast Guard po sir, sa mga rescue. We had 13 rubber boats and one platoon size na SAF na pinadala kagad namin kahapon at may sarili po silang tank. Naka-deploy na po sila dito at nagdagdag po kami ng 4 na ambulance po sir, galing po sa iba-ibang region kasi yung nagsettle na po yung nasa may NCR, Region 3 at saka National Headquarters, so dinivert na po kagad namin sila dito to assist dyan.
But all of your assigned men are they on the job until now?
Dito sir sa Region 2 sir, may affected po kami personnel dito. Last count po sir is 745. We already assisted them sir. Kung lahat na po na kuha namin, we assisted them by bringing them to some to our camp, some to their relatives po sir. So continuing din po yung assistant namin both sa civilian sector at sa sarili namin mga tauhan sir.
Thank you. Very good. Now, Secretary Dar is quite a bit veteran here in this kind of situation. Secretary Dar, you have the floor. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po, mahal ng Pangulo. Dito po sa Region 2, simula pa nung bagyong Pipito, Rolly, Quinta, Rolly at now Ulysses, ang value na po ng damage sa agrikultura ay 2 billion pesos. Pero dito ngayon po ay nakahanda naman ang kagawaran ng pagsasaka. Tamang-tama po yung paghahanda po namin for dry season planting. Ito na sana Nobyembre, last 2 weeks, at hanggat Disyembre. Mabuti na lang, hindi po namin pa naibigay po lahat doon sa mga probinsya. So ngayong araw, Mr. President, ay mayroon tayo ibibigay dito sa Region 2. Let me mention, itong yung agricultural inputs na gagamitin na sa pagtatanim itong Disyembre na. Kagaya po ng hybrid rice seeds, inbred rice seeds, fertilizers, hybrid corn seeds, assorted vegetable seeds, seedling trays, packing media, poultry, goats, and ducks. So dito po sa Cagayan po, mayroon tayong certificate of award na ibibigay po ngayon kay Governor Mamba. Ang value po ng ating ibibigay na rehabilitasyon na ng agrikultura ay 846 million pesos. Sa Isabela naman po, apektado mas lalo sila nung Quinta at Rolly. So ang value ng ating ibibigay ngayong araw ay 986 million for Isabela. For Nueva Vizcaya po, 148 million, ready na po yung certificate of award, and for Quirino, 96 million po. So a total of 2,078 million pesos. Dadagdagan pa po natin ng donasyon na bigas na under the National Food Authorities, nag-decide po yung council ng NFA na mag-donate po tayo dito sa Cagayan ng 14,500 bags, equivalent to 18 million pesos. Doon sa Isabela, mag-donate rin tayo ng 18,500 bags, so 23 million pesos. So 41 million po ay galing po sa National Food Authority. So the summary would be, Mr. President, we are giving out today all these agricultural inputs plus the rice as our ayuda dito sa Region 2. 2.2 billion pesos po, Mr. President. Maraming salamat po.
I'm overwhelmed. I'm happy. Si Del naman, the Secretary of Defense.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sugat ko lang yung report sa'yo ni General Harold Cabreros. Sinabi niyang buong command ng AFP dito ay nandito na sa Cagayan Valley. I think there is one division, at pati yung mga nasa Northcom ngayon, nandito si General Burgos, dito ba si, tayo. Is the commander of the Northern Luzon Command and the 5th Division Commander, ito, plus yung mga Air Force natin nandito. Ito po yung dagdag na assets natin dito sa Cagayan Valley. Yung sa air assets, meron tayong 5 helicopters, meron tayong 2 C-295 na medium lift transport at saka isang C-130. Yun ang ating dagdag na disaster response teams, 22 teams from the Philippine Army, Navy, and Air Force already deployed in the area. Meron pang 5 teams na paparating pa lang po, Mr. President. And 4 reserve DRTs or disaster response teams na nasa Army pa, saka Philippine Navy, na pwede na i-transport dito kung kailangan pa. Ang ibang assets po natin dito, ibang assets ay 15 rubber boats na sa tingin ko ay ginagamit pa hanggang ngayon kahit na humupa na yung baha. 7 trucks at saka yung mga equipment na nandito na hawak ng 5th Division. Then 1 air traffic controller team is enrolled to Tuguegarao to augment yung air traffic controller ng Tuguegarao Airport. Yun lang po, Mr. President.
Very good. Art, ano bang nasira dito, taga rito ka? Are you from here, really?
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir. Yes, sir. It's flooded.
Saan yung bahay nyo?
Sa Claveria ho, one of the small municipalities in Cagayan after Ilocos. Right now it's flooded. It has sustained a lot of damage.
I have to go there. Usually, ang ano niyan, Art, is you might want to go there, being from there, nandito man sila, you can divert some pagkain pa di tubig. Usually, ang kailangan ng tao, pagka gano'n, tubig, pati pagkain. At a shelter that will make a provisional house. So, medyo marami ka man yan siguro. You can, anyway, use the money of your department. Ako na ang ako na pala.
Opo, Mr. Mayor President. In fact, I was talking with Secretary Debot Bello this morning. Mag-relief operation ho kami within this week na ang concentration ko po yung tubig at pagkain. Magko-coordinate po ako kay Governor Mamba saka kay Mayor Soriano at ng mga ibang mga lugar dito sa Cagayan upang nang sa ganon makatulong ako sa pagdidistribute ng mga relief goods, Mr. Mayor, President.
But in the coming days, it should be an improvement or a repair or a rehabilitation of their house, home. But in the meantime, ang kailangan nila, and it must be sustained, yung pagkain, pati tubig. Yun talaga ang kailangan nila.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Idagdag ko lang po, kanina po, maaga ho kami dumating nila Secretary Bebot Bello, nagkaroon kami ng panahon, umikot. Nakipagpulong kami at umikot kami sa lugar. At nakita ko ho naman yung pagbaba ng baha. Sabihin ko lang po na wala hong damage sa airport, walang minimal damage sa mga pantalan. Sa mga opisina ng LTO at LTFRB, wala hong na-sustain na major damages. Okay naman po. Ang nangunguna ho sa operation ng Department of Transportation, ng Kagawaran ng Transportasyon dito sa Cagayan, yung Philippine Coast Guard po, na kung saan talagang walang tulog, sige-sige lang ang trabaho. Yung Philippine Coast Guard ho, sa report kanina sa akin, naitala nila na nagkaroon sila ng rescue ng mga 390 people sa 2 araw na nag-operate sila. Kahapon ho, meron silang retrieve na 2 tao na kuryente, patay ho. Tumulong ho dyan yung Philippine Coast Guard. Kasama na ho dyan yung pagpadala ni Commandant Ursabia ng mga floaters, lifeboat, saka yung truck with boom. Ginamit na rin po namin yung chopper ng Philippine Coast Guard. Nang sa ganun, makatulong kami sa rescue and relief operation. Sabihin ko na lang po sa aming pagpupulong kanina na nakita ko yung nakakalbo yung kagubatan at talaga hong nag-overflow yung sa pontoon bridge, yung Cagayan River. Mapapakita ho dito ang 2 pangangailangan. Number 1 ho, yung itigil yung pagputol ng puno dito, yung reforestation program, kailangan ho ituloy yun. Pangalawa, yung tinatawag na dredging sa Cagayan River. Kung hindi ho magagawa yung 2 na yan, paulit-ulit itong mangyayari yung pagbaha dito. Kaya in the medium term, kailangan ho talagang buhos ang trabaho dyan sa dredging saka sa reforestation. Let me be very simplistic if I may, Mr. Mayor, President. Kanina sa usapan namin in discussing the reforestation, narekomenda ng isang RD ko sa LTFRB, sabi sa akin, Sir, bakit hindi natin gawing proseso na pag merong kumuha ng prangkisa yung kooperatiba or prangkisa yung mga individual, part of the responsibility is to plant trees. Kung may kooperatiba ka dyan, ililimit minimum mo dyan, 500 trees kada prangkisa na ibibigay ko sa iyo. Kung gagawin mo namin yan, yung pagtatanim ng puno, doon sa pag-issue ng prangkisa o mga lisensya, marami ho tayong matatamnan. So I will be coordinating very closely with Secretary Roy Simato kung saan i-identify nila yung mga lugar na kung saan pwedeng taniman. Kaya nga kung kukuha sila ng prangkisa sa akin, I will make this nationwide. Part of the responsibility is really to plant trees. Imagine niyo ho, Mr. President, kung ang lahat ng opisina sa gobyerno, part of the responsibilities in getting license is to plant trees at designated areas, plantable areas chosen by the local government and the Department of Natural Resources. Makakatulong ko tayo dito. Umikot ka dyan, sa area, makikita mo, kalbo-kalbo na lahat yung mga banda.
I got lost there somewhere. Franchise to operate public utility.
Yes, sir. Yung mga kooperatiba, bigyan kita ang prangkisa, mag-cooperate ka. Effective dito, magtanim ka, 500 trees. Then, yung mga kukuha ng mga new licenses, pagtanimin ko yan ng 10 puno, at designated area, it becomes a matter of created responsibility and obligation. Then, we can address in our own way that system. Pangalawa ho, pwede ko nang sabihin, Secretary Bebot Bello, pag-usapan ko namin ni Secretary Bebot Bello, low-lying fruit. Before the end of this year, we will be donating 100 fiberglass fishing boats doon sa coastal areas. Nang sa ganon, kasi tinamaan ho talaga yan eh. Ngayon, pag fiberglass ho yan, hindi lang ho, Governor, magagamit yan pang fishing, pare sa rescue operation din, pag nagbaha-baha dyan, importante fiberglass. Nag-usap po kami ni Secretary Bebot dyan at magtutulungan kami na before the end of this year, Secretary Bebot, nakaposition tayo ng 100. Yun ho yung mga usapan namin. So basically, yun po yun, Mr. Mayor President, ito ho yung estado at gagawin ng kagawaran ng transportasyon.
Maraming pera kayong dalawa ni Bebot. Marami kayong reserve na pera. Where do you get the money to buy all those fiberglass?
Marami rin, Mr. President, kaya lang kahapon nandun din ako sa Region 5, Mr. President. Pumunta kami sa Catanduanes, saka sa Albay, and then by next Thursday, pupunta po ako sa Camarines Sur dahil may commitment po tayo doon.
Bumalik sa isip ko rin. There was this delivery supposedly by the Department of Labor in Cagayan, the Oro, it's in Mindanao. Yung bangka nila walang katig.
Meron na, Mr. President, meron na po. Actually, ang commitment namin 10, kaya lang nagkaroon ng delivery ng 17, yung 20, tatlo ang walang katig, Mr. President, pero ilalagay na po nila.
Ang nagreklamo yung tinawagan ka ba niya?
Tinawagan po ako, Mr. President.
Okay.
Saka dinagdagan ko naman ng nego card, Mr. President. 20 na ang nego card.
Yes, sir.
Sir, could I also suggest, aside from dredging and reforestation, the conversion of mountainous and forest areas into corn areas? I think very rampant po ngayon ito. Pati mga mountains po are ginawa nila mga corn land. I think this has to stop.
Ang importante yung control ng mining. Kasi pag it loosens pagkabutas, maraming tubig pumapasok sa loob ng lupa. That's why, pagka landslide, it loosens the soil. So kaya ang mining maraming butas, yan ang i-control mo. You might want, because it's the job of syndrome. Mo na lang, mag-inventory ka na lang. Kasi sigurado yan, pagka marami ng butas, maraming tubig papasok sa ilalim ng lupa, then it loosens the soil. Kaya, yes.
May respond to dito, three things, sir. First is the mining, second is the planting, and the third is the dredging. I listened to the briefing, and there was this casualties coming from landslide. And true enough, Mr. President, I have a map with me, the hazard maps that we use. And if we compare what happened versus the map that we prepared for the hazard, exactly the same. So the map that we distributed to the municipal mayors and everything jive with what happened. Meaning nakatuto landslide and the flooding. And I was informed that there were 10 casualties namatay sa landslide because dito sila sa mining area. There's no mining area given permit here. In fact, there is no except the small scale mining. This illegal one. So illegal mining po itong mga lugar yung namatay. So we have filed cases already and cease and desist order for these people. So na-address na po natin. Now, on the dredging, Mr. President, tama-tama ko kayo yung sinabi niyo that climate change really is the warming of the ocean. Being the chairman of the Cabinet Cluster on Climate Change, ako po yun. So, really, we are really very particular about the effect of this climate change. And it happened now in Ulysses. It is a manifestation really that ang climate change talaga ay talagang hindi natin maaboy dito. It's given na. And it will become stronger and stronger as the tama ko kayo sinabi, Mr. President, that ano nakikita natin sa climate change na very visible, yung the typhoon is stronger now compared when we were young, young. Wala ba, ang typhoon signal number 3 lang po tayo doon, pinakamataas noon yung pinakamaano noon. Pero ngayon, umabot na 200 to 300 kilometers per hour na. Noon, hanggang 80 kilometers per hour lang po noon when we were younger, Sir President. Pangalawa po, the volume of rains that coming down, the volume of rain ngayon is talagang mas marami kaysa yung patak ng ulan noon nung lumakas ang volume. Kaya yung rain na bumagsak dito sa Region 2, total po mula Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, Apayao, at saka kung ano dyan, Isabela, nagsama-sama po from the 18 rivers na bumaba. And the only catchment area is the Cagayan River. Ito lang po outlet ng tubig na pumasok dito. So, pinakompute ko, sir, I was talking to my geologist kanina, that the volume of water na bumagsak is more than the capacity or capability of the Cagayan River. Napuno na yung Cagayan River, marami pang naiwan na bumagsak. And that was the result of the flooding. So, it happened several years before, Mr. President, that this area is really very prone to flooding. Given na po yan. Mula nung panahon pa ng Espanyol, panahon pa yung meron tinatawag dito, Mr. President, na miraculous yung Lady of Piat. Medyo well-known na yan, miraculous yan. And the miracle of the Virgin Mary raw was, the Virgin Mary saved a lot of people from flooding in that town of Piat. Tabi ng Cagayan River po yun So, talagang historical nito, panahon ng Espanyol, lilipat naman yung town of Lalo, used to be the northernmost part of the Spanish. Linipat po dahil rin sila rito na biktima rin sila so dinala sa Bigan. So these are the historical rito. Pangatlo po, in 1972, nagkaroon rin the same kalakas uli ngayon dito. And nakita in 1970, there was no Magat River yet, at that Magat Dam at that time yet. So talagang even without the Magat, with the Magat, talagang the volume of water talaga lumating yan. So tuloy-tuloy po ito, then what should we do? And I think the only thing that we can do is to improve as of now, Mr. President, improve the volume of water na ma-accommodate dyan sa Cagayan River. There was this JICA study po, and this was, I think, but it was not implemented. It was not implemented, meaning there is a bottleneck in one of this area in Magapit River, but ito yung pinaka-bottleneck Kaya noong ng tubig dito ng volume, na-slow down ang flow to the dagat. Nagbumahakyat ang upstream of that, which include Tuguegarao and other towns. Kaya umakat po ng because of that bottleneck. Now, unfortunately, Mr. President, that bottleneck, nandun kinonekta yung river, bridge. Nandun po yung bridge. So, kung i-widen natin yan, which is the prescription yata ng JICA, is to widen that portion na bottleneck. But, meaning, kung ginawa mo naman yan, mawawala na yung bridge. So these are the dilemma that they were not able to implement, Mr. President. But I think we can do some engineering interventions for it. I was talking to a geologist kanina. I told him to report to Manila para pag-usapan what will be the remedy of that. If we don't touch the width of the river, laliman lang natin yun, dredge it, para yung volume of the total volume, it will just be the same as widening it. So that is one probably pag-usapan namin ni Governor, Mr. President. In fact, Mr. President, we are about to start the dredging of the mouth of the river, Cagayan River. And I approved it. I approved the request of the governor of a 30 kilometers dredging from the mouth of the river upstream. And that will really help a lot, Mr. President. And the other one is that the dredging will be no cost on the part of the government. It will be really a request of the governor to allow a contractor to clean or to dredge the river. And at the same time, in exchange of that, he is allowed to sell this sand, but they have to pay, as what the mining companies pay, 4% excise tax as a revenue of the government. So ito po yung intervention na nakikita ko na we can already start with the governor. I think we have to already complete the documentation so that they can start already the dredging of that mouth of the river, which is Naparin. So these are the things that we can do now, Mr. President. And if we have to study what will be the solution of that, because whether we like it or not, the flooding will again come, Mr. President. That's yan ang nakikita ko, engineering intervention that we can do. And pangatlo po, the tree planting, we were talking with General Anyo a while ago. On the National Greening Program, we are concentrating sa taas, pero yung mga kalbo-kalbo dito sa baba po, private properties and so forth and so on. So we're talking about why will not involve the local government and other citizens to plant trees already here at the lowland, patulad dito sa atin. So we're talking with General Anyo if we can come up with a agreement to yung sinasabi nga sabi ni we can plant to 200 million trees kagad yun, Mr. President. So that will address all the three that were presented here, Mr. President. And I think if we can do this, we can already make a difference, Mr. President. See, nobody touched this because it is really difficult and it is an impossible one. But I think we can do this, Mr. President.
Go for it. Go for it. I will support you and shorten the process of the paper.
Yes, sir.
We're losing time. It's not because I really want to do it all, but something to leave behind, may ginawa. Ito yung iyo. Go for it and I will support you all the way.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Can I strongly support the tree planting much more in upland areas that can be also be planted with native fruit trees. Huwag lang lahat kahoy po, Mr. President, kasi mas aalagahan po ng mamamayan kung it's a mixture of forest trees and native fruit trees. Yun po, Mr. President.
Well, that's a good idea. Yeah. Yes, Secretary Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. In relation, Mr. President, to the climate change problem that you have mentioned earlier, I agree with you that we are the least contributor on carbon emission. And we are a victim rather than a contributor. And that's for that reason that we are asking for climate justice. The last Typhoon Rolly, what we did, because this has been happening, and Philippines has been suffering, and I wrote the Climate Change Commission asking for compensation on the electrical facilities that were damaged. We're testing it. I mean, it's a test because
as you've said, that we are the least contributor, we are a victim, and we want climate justice, Mr. President. Now, in relation to the tree planting, I agree with the tree planting, Mr. President. The transportation must already require all transport vehicles or operators to plant tree equivalent to on a per consumption or per type of engines or amount of capacity that they are operating. In the same way that we do that in energy, Mr. President. Just to let everybody know about this MAGAT. The MAGAT that is operated by NIA under the DA, and which uses the water that is being released for electricity generation. So in that MAGAT area, the project that we have agreed with the operator is to plant the fruit-bearing trees, the vegetables that can be supplied to the community. That has started, and that the beneficiary is the what you call the Rizal municipality of Rizal in Isabela, although in small scale yet. But there, in this flooding, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, what Gerald Simatu mentioned about the control of the water is true. I agree with that. And there has been a long-term solution that we need to do. And this has been already, we have declared it already as a project of national significance. And that is putting an upstream dam ahead of Magat to control the water. And by doing so, that will again produce electricity. We can do it around 140 to 280, depending on how it is done. So the engineering solution is there. We already issued the project, the permit, certificate of project of national significance of what it can do to control the flooding. The LGUs have approved it. Unfortunately, I met with the NCIP, and the problems are the permits from the IPs, Mr. President. So if we do that, I think that that can be done as a long-term solution to control or minimize the flooding in the province.
Since you're doing it, do it.
I'll do it.
Pursue mo.
Okay, I'll do it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Yes, Gerald.
Mr. President, tungkol po doon sa tree planting, may plano na po kami ni Secretary Simatu, kasama yung DepEd, CHED. Kasi po nung araw, nare-remember ko sa mga eskwelahan, yung mga bata, bago mag-graduate dyan, required po yung magtanim ng puno. Yung mga teacher, ini-inspect pa mismo yung mga bahay. So we are 110 million Filipinos. Kung we can plant 100 million per every 6 months, that's 200 million a year. So, paplano po kami, we can start at January. Pangalawa po, isang concern po ng ating mga mayors, ito pong pagpapakawala ng tubig sa dam. It's unfortunate na sa loob ng 4 na linggo, 6 pong bagyo ang dumating sa atin. Si Pipito, Quinta, Rolly, Tonyo, Shoni, at ang pinakahuli po ay Ulysses. Bukod pa doon sa cold front at tropical depression. So talaga pong parang ang lupa ay talagang nasaturate ng tubig. Nadagdagan pa po ito ng pagpapalabas ng mga tubig sa dam. 6 na dam ang nagbukas ng tubig at ito yung nakadagdag sa pagbaha. So may kanya-kanya pong protocol yung mga dam paano pag-release. At iba-ibang may-ari dyan, ano? Mayroon sa NIA, mayroon sa Napocor, mayroon din mga private, katulad ng appointees. So, I think we will propose na in times of calamity sa typhoon, dapat po ay may nakokontrol dyan kung sino, kailan bubuksan yung dam. Kasi dapat before the bagyo, pwede na po tayong magbukas, lalo na kung mayroon tayong forecast kung gaano kalaki yung ulan na darating. So, I will propose po na pag-usapan namin sa ndrmc na sa time ng calamity sa typhoon, ito po ang ndrmc ang magbibigay ng approval kung kailan pwede magbukas, ilang gate, para po control natin. Kasi Yan ang sinasabi ng ating mga LGUs katulad sa Region 4A, Region 3 at saka NCR na nakadagdag talaga ng pagbaha ang pagbubukas ng dam. Tapos ngayon pong pandemic, meron tayong, ngayon pong calamities, meron pa rin tayong pandemic. Pero nagbigay kami ng advisory sa mga LGU, sa mga hard-hit areas na pwede pong i-lift muna yung restriction sa health protocol para sa mga rescue, relief at recovery teams na pupunta at magdadala ng mga relief goods katulad sa Catanduanes, Camarines Norte, dito po sa Isabela at saka sa Cagayan, provided meron pa silang coordination sa LGU at sa RITF at sa OCD. So, yun lang po, Mr. President.
Thank you for your crowd. Ted, ilan ba talaga nawalaan ng bahay? Have you, is there a count of the house is totally lost?
Mr. President.
Beyond repair?
Yes, Mr. President. Here in Region 2, I was talking to Governor Mamba earlier kung meron ng bilang yung mga partially and totally damaged in Region 2. And I was told na wala pa po, Mr. President, dahil nakalubog pa yung mga bahay, wala pang assessment silang nagagawa. We will be creating an interagency team para mag-conduct sir ng assessment to be led by the Office of Civil Defense. Kasama po rito ang Department of Human Settlements, ang National Housing Authority, and DSWD para malaman yung particular houses and owners na bibigyan natin ng financial assistance. Ang programa po natin, 5,000 to 10,000 depending on the gravity of the damages. Yung partially damaged, bibigyan po ng 5,000. Yung severe or totally damaged, binibigyan natin ng 10,000. This will come in, Mr. President, pagkatapos ng yung food and water needs nila, yung relief assistance. So this will be a continuing activity after the provisions of food and water. The housing sector will come in for the relief assistance in terms of housing assistance. This will be given in cash, Mr. President, para immediately yung mga nasirang mga bahay ay maayos kaagad. Here in Region 2, we don't expect so much damages because this is caused by floodings. Ang mas grabe sir yung sa Region 5 dahil ang damages to housing ay because of strong wind. So sa pagbaha sir, pagkatapos ng tubig, very minimal ang magiging damages sa mga houses. Now, we can see from the briefing, Mr. President, na may mga namatay dahil nakatira sila sa along the river basin. To complement yung ating desire na magtanim at mag-dredging, ang kailangan po dito natin yung enforcement ng resettlement for highly susceptible flooded areas. Tatlo po ang category ng mga lupa natin, highly, moderate, and less susceptible. We will coordinate directly with the LGUs to identify the highly susceptible areas prone to floodings para makapag-enforce po tayo ng resettlement para ma-resettle sila in coordination with the LGU sa safe areas. Kasi pag hindi po natin ginawa yan, Mr. President, continuous ang problema natin na ang ating mga kababayan namamatay, nalulunod because they are living in danger areas. So we will coordinate directly with the LGUs para yung highly susceptible to flooding ma-resettle na as early as possible. Of course, this will be a midterm implementation, but that is the direction that the housing sector must undertake in coordination with the local government units, Mr. President.
You have the money?
We will be assessing for that, Mr. President, and we will be requesting for money so that the National Housing Authority can implement the resettlement program, Mr. President.
So, we're about to wind up. Secretary Roque.
Sir, i-report ko lang po, sir, na kada bagyong dumating ay nagkakaroon po tayo ng special presidential news briefing at nagpapasalamat po ako sa lahat ng mga miyembro ng ating gabinete dahil kahit linggo po, 2 special press briefing na yung ginawa nating linggo, lahat po sila ay dumadalo para masabi po sa taong bayan kung anong ginagawa po ng gobyerno para tulungan ang ating mga taong bayan. At nakita rin po natin na doon sa ating mga special presidential press briefing, nagiging tulay din po yun, no, para ma-bridge ko ano yung pangangailangan ng mga naging biktima ng mga bagyo doon sa mga departamento na makapagbibigay ng serbisyo. At kasama po ang PCOO, ang PNA, ang PTV4, ang RTVM, ay patuloy po ang pagbibigay natin ng impormasyon, lalong-lalo na yung mga ginagawa ng gobyerno para labanan po yung napakaraming fake news na kumakalat sa panahon po ng kalamidad. Yun lang po, Mr. President.
Well, I think that we have heard the last, except that I would like to congratulate General Halad for a job well done. As in the other, you know how to, hindi man alam ng mga tao na long before the typhoon or the whatever is coming, naka-position, naka-deploy na yung pagkain. So, automatic na yan. And in many instances, it's always General Halad who's the first to be there. So, thank you for doing it for your countrymen, and I salute you sa trabaho mo. Magaling. I was monitor, but I was also attending when I was attending the summit, lumalabas ako just to know how things are. So, okay naman siguro, as long as we comply with our commitment dito, just do what you plan to do it, do not delay it, because I said, itong bahay, pagkain, lalo na pagkain, dyan halat, tubig pati pagkain. Then, the next pumapasok dyan, sila, sa housing. One would always appreciate the cooperation of the local government units. So, salamat. But you heard what these guys are doing and what they intend to do moving forward. Tulungan mo lang in other areas yung convincing the people to move to a place where it's not prone to flooding. That's the only way that we can erase agony every time that there is a typhoon over here. Pero lahat pwesto naman. And we are prepared for it. May pera yan sila, lahat na departamento. So, sir, hindi na ako magtagal. I have to fly to ganito rin, sa Legazpi. Lahat na, di ka sa Legazpi. Okay. Sinabi ninyo, nandoon si Lenny, taga doon yan. Courtesy call tayo sa kanya. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. That ends our activity with the President. Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon. Just a reminder to everyone, please remain in the room as the President leaves the area.